As mentioned in the previous video, there were two important developments that happened in the 1970s and 80s in kids' TV. First was the success of Sesame Street and other PBS programs for children which focused on education, and second was the rise of cable. By 1983, cable supplied almost 70% of children's programming hours, and two major cable organizations, Nickelodeon and the Disney Channel, entered and dominated the market for children's media. Nickelodeon was the first channel developed entirely for kids on cable. It initially aimed at 6 to 12-year-olds and was branded as the Anti-Adult Channel. It was originally launched as commercial-free, but soon switched to an advertising model in 1983. On the other hand, the Disney Channel launched shortly after Nickelodeon and had the clear advantage of building on its mega brand. Unlike Nick, the Disney Channel started as a premium cable channel and remains commercial-free today. While television continued to flourish, video games began to gain ground in the lives and homes of kids. The Atari 2600 was released in 1977 and was a huge success, with games such as Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and Q*bert. In 1985, Nintendo released its Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, and Super Mario Bros., Legend of Zelda, and Final Fantasy sold game systems. The first handheld video game, the Nintendo Game Boy, was released in 1988 and changed kids' video gaming forever. The 1990s brought with it a focus on educational television and audience segmentation. First, educational programming. PBS revamped its educational programming lineup with a focus on Ready to Learn, RTL. PBS's RTL combines 11 hours of educational programming throughout the day with community and parent outreach and resources. And these resources and programming address social and emotional development, physical well-being and motor development, and various approaches to learning, including language skills, cognitive skills, and other general knowledge for kids ages 2 to 8. In 1994, Nickelodeon launched Nick Jr., a channel within a channel, focusing on educational programming for preschoolers. And finally, we also saw the implementation of the Children's Television Act of 1990, which put the focus on networks to provide educational content for children. We'll talk more about that with media regulation. And now, audience segmentation. The most noteworthy change in the television landscape from the advertiser's perspective was the segmentation of the children's market by age and gender. With more than 1,000 hours of children's programming a week on network and cable channels, programming could be targeted to smaller niche age groups, resulting in the rise of audience fragmentation. For example, shows were targeted to preschoolers, and they had commercials for diapers and preschool toys and things like that mom would be watching, with their preschooler, hopefully. And we see this really clearly in how the networks handled the implementation of the Children's Television Act. As you see down here in the corner, we've got, remember, Disney's One Saturday Morning, Teen NBC, and Nick Jr. on CBS. So we can see that each of the networks kind of picked a segment of the audience and focused on that for their EI programming. Just as the television audience grew fragmented, so did the market for video games in the 1990s. And here we start seeing the release of more and more video game systems to compete with a fragmented audience. Sega Genesis at 1989, Nintendo with the release of Super Nintendo System in 1991, PlayStation by Sony in 1995, Nintendo again in 1994 with the Nintendo 64, and Sega's Dreamcast in 1999.